Hey guys, welcome to another video. In this video, I'll be covering the pre-raid best-in-slot gear for mages in TBC Classic. This is going to be for Phase 1, and I'll be talking about possible options for different slots of gears. I'll be covering pieces you can get from Classic WoW, and pieces you can get from TBC if you're starting from scratch. I'll also link my sources I used to make this list, along with other information in the description. So let's get started. So for the helm, we have the Spellstrike hood. Now this is pre-BiS and also BiS for Phase 1, and this might be a little hard to get because you need to get some mats from tailoring, which take a long time to make and are going to be very expensive in the first phase. So for other options, we have Hood of Oblivion. It drops from Harbinger Skyrus from the dungeon Alcatraz, and the other option is Incanter's Skull, which drops from Pantaleon, the dungeon Mechaner, I believe. Now, these dungeons, these helms are not bad either. They both have a meta socket, and Spellstrike Hood doesn't. But Spellstrike Hood is still better, but these ones will allow you to benefit from a meta gem. And for the helm enchant, we have Glyph of Power, which you get from the Shatter Revered. So for the necklace, we have Brooch of the Heightened Potential for the pre-best in slot, and this drops from Blackheart the Insider from the dungeon Shadow Labyrinth. And for other options, we have Hydra Fang Necklace, which drops from the Underdog, and Charlotte's Ivy, which is basically a world drop in Outland from any level 70 plus mobs. If you have the Choker of the Fire Lord, you can also use this as a pre-best in slot. Even though it's not the best, but it's not that far behind this necklace, the actual pre-best. For the shoulders, we have the Spaulders of the Torn Heart. This is actually a quest reward from a quest chain in Shadowmoon Valley. I'll link the quest chain in the description if you want to read more about it, because it's a pretty long quest chain and I don't want to talk about it in this video. But this is the best pre-BiS. And for other options, we have Spaulders of Oblivion. This drops from Murmur in the Shadow Labyrinth. It has 2 sockets. And for the other option, we have Mana Etched Spaulders, which drops from Quagmiran from the Slave Pens. The best in slot enchant is going to be from the Aldor's Exalted enchant. For the back, we have Cloak of the Necropolis as the best pre-best in slot. Now you get this from Naxxramas, from the boss Saphiron, but if you never played Classic, and you can go for these options, which are also really good options. Setted Oracle Cloak drops from Talon King from Setted Hall's Heroic, and Cloak of the Entropy that actually is a bind on equip Outland world drop. So you can probably buy this at the auction house. And these are both good options if you don't have this one. And for the Cloak enchant, you want to have Enchant Cloak Subtlety. For the chest, we have Spellfire Robe. This is only if you want to go Fire Mage. If you want to go Frost Mage, you want Frozen Shadowweave Robe. And you get that by speccing into Shadowweave Tailoring. And you get this by speccing into Spellfire Tailoring. And for other options, we have Robe of the Crimson Order, which is an Outland world drop, and Auchenai Anchoret's Robe, which is a quest reward from the dungeon Auchenai Crypts. For bracers, we have Bracers of Havoc. Now this is a craftable bracer which you get from tailoring. You can also buy it from the auction house, or you can make it yourself. But the pattern for this bracer is a world drop, so you may have to buy the pattern from the auction house first, unless you get it yourself. For other options, we have Crimson Bracers of the Gloom, which you get from a boss in Hellfire Ramparts, and you have Shatra Wraps, which you get from the quest The Soul Devices in the dungeon Shadow Labyrinth. For hands, we have Spellfire Gloves. Once again, if you're a Frost Mage, you want to go with Frozen Shadowweave Gloves. For other glove options, we have Gloves of the Dead Watcher, This one drops from Shruck the Dead Watcher in the Arcanine Crypts. And this is also a classic WoW boss item, Darkstorm Gauntlets, which drops from Cthulhu in AQ40. If you have this glove, you can also make it work as a pre-BiS. For the belt, we have Spellfire Belt or Frozen Shadowweave Belt if you're a Frost Mage. For other options, we have the Belt of Depravity. This is a belt that drops from Harbinger Skyrys from the dungeon Alcatraz. Eyestock Waistcord from Cthulhu in AQ40 can also be worked out for the pre-BiS set. And for other options, we have Breaches of the Occultist. This drops from Eonas in the Black Morass. And we have Khadgar's Kilt of Abjuration. This drops from Temperus from the dungeon Black Morass again. So if you want to farm your legs, better start farming Black Morass. For feet, we have Extravagant Boots of Malice. This drops from Tavarok from the dungeon Manatomes. And Sigil Lace Boots is also a good option, which drops from Harbinger Skyrys from the Alcatraz. You can also use Shatra Jumpers, which is a quest from the dungeon Shadow Labyrinth. If you have Frostfire Sandals from Naxxramas, you can also make that work. And for rings, we have a lot of options. If you have the ring from Cthulhu from AQ40, you can make that work. If you don't, you can get Ashian's Gift, which is a ring you can buy when you have Exalted Reputation with the Cenarion Expedition. You can get Sparkling Arcanite Ring, which drops from Old Hillspat Foothills. You can get Seal of Exorcist, which is purchased from a guy in Terrakar Forest. I'll post a picture in the video to explain more about that. You can get Lola's Eve, which is an Outland BOE world drop. If you have the Frostfire Ring, you can also make that work. With trinkets, we have Mark of the Champion. Now this is not always going to be a pre-BiS slot. In Karajan, we have a lot of undead and demon NPCs, and you can use this against them pretty well. So if you have this, you can use this for Karazhan raiding as a pre-BiS. If you don't, you can use Darkmoon Card Crusade, or you can use Squire's Blood Gem, which you get from the Revered Reputation from the Squires. You can get this trinket, Icon of the Silver Crescent, which you buy with Badge of Justice. And you can also use other trinkets from Classic WoW if you have them. But if you don't have any trinkets from Classic WoW, you can literally use these two trinkets, which are going to be the best for you. Darkmoon Card and Silver Crescent. Now for the weapon, we have Eternium Rune Blade. This is a blacksmithing weapon. It's probably going to be a bit expensive on the first day. So if you don't have that, you can go with Blade of the Archmage, which you can buy if you have Honorhold Exalted, or Stormcaller if you have Thrallmore Exalted. Blade of Wizardry is also a good option. This is going to be a BOE world drop, but if you can get this, you might as well get Eternium Rune Blade, because there might be the price of these two won't be that far apart. The offhand, we have Flame Tongue Seal. This you buy with Badge of Justice. If you don't have enough Badge of Justice, you can use the Classic WoW Saffron offhand, or you can just get the Lamp of Peaceful Radiance, which drops from Harbinger Skyrys from the dungeon Alcatraz. And for two-hand weapon, if you have Atiash, it's going to be your pre-BiS slot weapon. If you don't have Atiash, you can still use Terok's Shadow Staff, which drops from the Talon King boss in Settled Halls. Now, for the wand, the best is going to be the Kel'Thuzad wand from Classic WoW. But if you don't have that, just get Nethercore Control Rod, which drops from Delia the Doomslayer from Alcatraz. Which they're both pretty much, the difference is not that big, so if you don't feel bad for not having any of the Classic WoW pieces if you didn't play Classic WoW. As you can see with the current pre-BiS gear, we did not hit cap. The hit cap is 164. You can probably get hit cap if you gem the right pieces and do the right enchants. But if you don't hit cap with your pre-BiS gear, it's okay. It's pre-BiS after all. Now for gemming, we can use for the red slot we can use spell damage. For the blue slot, spell damage and stamina. And for the yellow slot, depending on what you need, if you need haste, get haste. If you need hit, get hit. If you want both spell damage and haste or hit, then use accordingly. Like right now, if you're not hit capped, you're always gonna want to go for the hit gem. Or the pure hit gem, not even like an orange gem with spell power on it. And if you're using one of these helms, and you want to use a meta socket, then you can use either the increased spell cast speed, or you can use the increased critical damage. They're both really good, but make sure to fill up the requirements. For example, if you want to use this one, you need to use at least 2 blue gems to activate this meta gem. And if you want to use this one, you need to have more blue gems than yellow gems. So if you have 1 blue gem, you can have no yellow gems if you want to use this. Now I think that's pretty much all I have to cover for this video, and I will be making a best in slot video in the future. So if you want to watch that, make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you liked the video, hit the like button, and if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.